It wasn't a fragile dream. It was a powerful idea forged into reality. As it grew, naysayers became believers. Food brought the people together. And together, they built a community. The entire county has one high school. There are no 4-lane roads. Only 15,000 people live here, and nearly 20% of them live below the poverty line. This is Morgan County, Ohio. These hills are filled with the sounds of nature. But now, there's a new sound. The sound of commerce. The sound of community.
Now 3, now 3.5, now 4, now half. We'll give 4, now we give 4, now we give 4, now anywhere. 4, we give 4, now we give 4, now we give 4, now we give 4.5. 4 bucks per month.
I am here to get fresh, good, homegrown produce to can and freeze for the winter.
It's a real bargains here, you know, when you're trying to use local products, which we're trying to do at our food cart, this is the best place to get them.
And it's fresh. So this is a wonderful opportunity for folks to come out and support the local farmers and to get fresh produce.
Fresh is better, and supporting local farmers and producers, it's just a win-win all the way around.
Chester Hill is out in the middle of nowhere. All the people we told about this idea, the first thing they said was, why would you do it there? The thing with a produce auction, you're making a destination based on the assets, which would be the farmers, which are in place at that location.
Especially at the beginning, the majority of the farmers were Amish. Coming to town was a 4 to 6 hour buggy ride, and that's prohibitive. That's 10 hours out of their day. 10 hours, they're not being productive in the field. So it was important to create a location, that destination, to bring them together.
Running a produce auction on a shoestring budget isn't easy. It helps to have a leader who's committed to increasing local food production. Someone who's worked the soil, from Appalachia to Africa. Someone like Tom Redfern.
I'm the manager of the produce auction. I do it because I love to do it. I do it because it really is a great job. We're sharing risk. It's like we're a value chain, we're partners. We want more food production. We think it's a good thing for the world. And we're partnered with other institutions like OSU Extension. And we offer that to the farmers as a partner. So I think it's more like a marriage. We trust each other. In 2008, we had 21 farmers participate in the auction. This year, we're up to 103. The farmers must like it because it's growing. They serve on the advisory board with me that runs the produce auction. So we're trying to get people to drive 45 minutes to spend money. And ultimately what we want to do is to put that dollar in the farmer's pocket every chance we get. That's our goal.
Danielle, please. Toss the spinach, put the dressing lightly. Nice layer.
Matt Rapicelli is head chef and co-owner of 2 popular restaurants, one at Lake Hope Lodge, the other at Hocking Hills State Park Lodge. While he's committed to buying local, he often can't make it to the auction.
Rural Action has set it up so that, like Sotheby's, we can call in a bid, which is equally as spectacular considering where they're located.
I was wondering if you had an order for tomorrow for us. The golden. Oh, and summer squash.
We can let them know what we're looking for, what we're willing to pay. They take care of bidding for us, and if we get it, they give us a call at the end of the day and say, okay, here's what we have, and then we arrange pickup. So just works out really well.
At the auction yesterday, for instance, I think I was buying for 7 different people, which is challenging. The running joke is you have no friends on the auction floor. It does become competitive at times. And the growers, of course, love this. I've seen ridiculous prices just because somebody is determined not to let the other person walk away with it. They probably get invited to dinner afterwards by a lot of the growers just because they're so happy to see this happen.
And in an area like this that's rural and slightly depressed economically, networking is key. And that's what keeps everybody afloat and keeps the wheels greased, is folks making connections with other like-minded folks who can utilize each other's talents and services. And Rural Action has been vastly instrumental in making that happen.
And it's through those relationships that mutually beneficial opportunities can be discovered. Sometimes the opportunities are just around the bend.
So for about a year, I'd been working with Rural Action and the produce auction.
Bob was very persistent in getting me to at least check it out.
He frequently says that I pressured him.
One of these days, I'll get there, Bob.
He's a tremendous chef. He's a good friend. But we share a common addiction: motorcycles.
He said, hey, let's go for a ride. And I said, sure. So we go for a ride. Well, the ending point was the auction.
All the Amish are, motorcycles showing up at a produce auction, they just weren't ready for it.
It is in the middle of nowhere. And there are hundreds of people there, which blows you away.
He takes his helmet off, he walks inside and goes, I should have brought a truck. He immediately saw the potential here.
I was stunned to see what was there because it is not what I'd expected. There's all the Amish buggies, a lot of the Amish farmers, and then everybody else, both local and not so local there. And all these beautiful, stunning vegetables. So that's how we got connected with the produce auction.
Since 2009, we've been tracking the results of every auction that we hold. And it's all archived on our local food website, which is ohiofoodshed.org. You click on, you see the high, you see the low, you see the average, and you see the variety, and what you can expect to be there through the months of the season. So if you are a chef, if you are a buyer for a store, you can make projections.
To ensure the success of the auction, Rural Action works hard to get growers and buyers on the same page.
What's really, really, really handy is that once the farmers have an idea of what you're looking for, they'll actually plant it. So if there's any specialty crops we're looking for, they'll do those for us.
From November on, we have a series of monthly growers meetings that will go through May, where we plan the production for next year.
Auction work is often hot work and long hours.
I try to be a team builder. It's very important. I'm really asking people, really people who are grossly underpaid, people who are volunteers, people who are basically doing this simply because they love it. So I have to support those people and keep that love alive so they'll give so much. So yeah, it's all about team building. It's amazing that we can even do it.
Since the auction began in 2005, it's helped generate nearly $2 million for one of the poorest counties in Ohio. Without Jean Conkle, that wouldn't have happened. Jean and her husband Marv had just retired in Morgan County when she got an idea.
I just thought it was one of the nicest little areas, but at the same time, I felt like, how were the people surviving? I know they were all vegetable growers. They did sell those vegetables, but not in bulk. And that's what they needed to do. They needed bulk sales in order to survive and take care of their families. I felt it was important to help those people.
I love the Conkles. They had a vision.
She called me one day and said, did you ever hear about a thing called a produce auction?
My husband Marvin and I discussed it, and I said, okay, we're going to go out and find some property today.
Buying the property for the auction house was the culmination of several months of hard work.
I didn't even think about the problems I would have in getting permits. The days got longer and longer. I never thought of quitting. Never. I've never been that type of person. I'd already made the commitment. I had to do it.
Jean Conkle was a bulldog. She had this dream, but there was a lot of naysaying that she couldn't do it.
And it was like, you'll never do it. You'll never do it. And I said you wouldn't want to take a bet on that. I could have made some money.
After 5 years of growing the Chester Hill Produce Auction, Jean and Marv were ready to sell.
You bought, observe 550, 972 to the buyer, 972.
It was very important to us. It was very important to Jean and Marvin. It was very important to the farmers to continue the Chester Hill Produce Auction. We hadn't scratched the surface. So what Rural Action was able to do is we were able to purchase the produce auction with volunteer money and volunteer efforts.
5 days a week, you can hear the wind blow through the auction house. 5 days a week, it's an empty shell on a small hill in the middle of nowhere. But on Mondays and Thursdays, something incredible happens. People come. They come from down the road, from outside the county, from outside the state. It's a diverse crowd. Fast talkers and slow movers. College students and old school farmers. Guys who love motorcycles and people who prefer a different kind of horsepower. And under this roof, something happens. Food brings people together, old and young, Amish and English, Republican and Democrat. Food builds community. That's why 2 days every week, this place called Chester Hill Produce Auction rocks.